I promise we're going to talk about the Patriots' first day of mandatory minicamp, but I also know there are a lot of Boston Celtics fans in the Patriots Today subscriber realm. So if you guys want the Boston Celtics to win the NBA Finals, go on ahead and like this video because I heard Julian Edelman was actually at day one of minicamp wearing a Celtics hat. 2 down, 2 to go. Hit that like button if you want to raise banner 18. Happy first day of mandatory minicamp, Patriots fans. On today's show, I'm going to be breaking down the takeaways and the news on the field, on offense and on defense. There are a lot of storylines heading into this mandatory minicamp, so I want to talk about what I saw from the reporters on the ground. I saw a lot of videos, a lot of reps getting out there, but I also want to hear from the Patriots players themselves and the head coaches on how day one went. I am your host, Allie Barefoot, and thankfully every single player was in attendance for Patriots mandatory minicamp. Not every single player participated because there are still injuries in this world, but it is good to know that everybody was there, including Matthew Judon. He didn't really have the headline in terms of what he did on the field today, but you know what? He's there. That's all that matters to me, and I'm sure he was still being a veteran presence and a leader while he was on the field. So let's go ahead and jump into my 5 takeaways here in day one of mandatory minicamp. Rhamondre Stevenson may be having a big contract extension coming soon. This was a report from Mike, who was there when Rhamondre Stevenson said they are pretty close to agreeing on a deal to keep Stevenson in the Patriots backfield for a little bit longer. Jerod Mayo also touched on this in his press conference ahead of the first day of minicamp. I'm going to touch on that in just 1 second, but I got to make sure you guys know what's actually going on with your RB1. All right, here's the latest on Stevenson. He's in his final year of his contract. This is kind of when those contract talks start to come into play, like, hey, we love what you're doing right now, and we don't want to push it until you have the option to go anywhere else in the NFL. This is when you lock down your top player. 2025 is when he's set to enter free agency. He did miss 5 games last season. He played 17 games in 2022, and he only played 12 games, he played 17 games in 2023, and only played 12 games again in 2022, and he currently makes about $3.5 million as a running back for the New England Patriots. Here's what head coach Jerod Mayo had to say about possibly extending Rhamondre Stevenson. He said, we'll see. I will say this about Rhamondre. I think he's one of the better backs in the league. It's no doubt about it. I think over the last few years, it's been kind of tough on him as far as getting started. So I'm excited to see what he does this season. And look, he's earned everything that he's going to get. He is our starting running back, and hopefully we do get something done. I think it is 110% worth it to lock him down right now because the dude is a baller. I fully believe a fully healthy Rhamondre Stevenson is a top 10 running back in the NFL. And the good news is he's also fitting in really well with the offense. He's the type of running back that's going to get you yards. He's going to have you grab some catches. He's going to put some points on in the red zone. I think he just needs to stay healthy. He's only had 1 full season playing 17 games here, and he rushed for over 1,000 yards in that season. But the good news is he also commented on his weight and on his status of healthiness, and he said, I've lost a lot of weight this offseason because I want to make sure that I'm prepared to play a full year in 2024. Let's go ahead and jump into my next takeaway here from day one. I know you guys have been extremely intrigued with Drake Maye's play, and it's good to report that today was his best practice yet. Here are some highlights from day one. Mandatory minicamp, the kid popped off. He led all QB reps with 8 snaps for his 2-minute drills. This is ahead of Brissett, Milton, and Zappi. And actually, he's still taking majority of his reps slightly under Jacoby Brissett, but way above Bailey Zappi. On 11v11, he went 4 for 5 with a touchdown pass. There was one play that stood out to me in particular is where he slid through that front pocket and it ended up doing a nice little submarine pass, a nice little sidearm throw, proving that he can work outside of the pocket. He also has great vision in the sense of reading those gaps and being able to slide out of that pocket and go through the front and still complete the pass. And then 7v7, he went 3 for 3 with 3 touchdowns. And he was completing his passes with rookies and veterans as well. Speaking of veterans, Jacoby Brissett saying you're seeing his progression come alive. We have said from day one, Jacoby Brissett is going to be Drake Maye, Bailey Zappi, and Joe Milton's biggest fan. This is not a QB competition in the sense that they're all going at each other and they hate each other. They're putting their best foot forward and making sure that all 4 quarterbacks are ready to go. Let's talk a little bit more about that QB depth room because I know you guys want to know about the quarterback battle. That's why I put a poll on the community page of Patriots Today by Chat Sports, and a lot of you guys seem interested. So Alex Barth said that each QB got to run a live drive in an end-of-game situation with 1:32 to go. First off, love this. Jacoby Brissett, Drake Maye, and Joe Milton all led drives that resulted in turnover on downs. Bailey Zappi was intercepted on his first throw. Of course, that interception did come from Kyle Duggar. So that's pretty interesting to note there that while, of course, the red zone offense is still a work in progress, not just with the quarterbacks, but obviously it starts with the line, and then you got to work on your resources. So there's still a while to go there, but at least 3 out of the 4 quarterbacks ended up completing their passes with no interceptions in the red zone. So it'd be pretty interesting to see what Bailey Zappi will do moving forward. So I have a question here about Drake Maye because we do know that as of right now, Jacoby Brissett is taking QB1 reps, as he should, in my opinion. He's the veteran. He's got more experience. But do you think as time moves on and training camp rolls around, that Drake Maye could somehow slide into that QB1 position ahead of the regular season? Comment why or why not in the comments section down below. While you guys are typing on your phone or your computer, just slide up just a little bit, and there's going to be a thumbs up icon. Smash that for me. If you are tired of talking about OTAs, mini camps, and training camp, and you just want Sunday afternoon to roll around with a nice cold beer in your hand watching the New England Patriots football, like this video, and let's move on to take number 3, shall we? Receiver room is make or break. We know there are 12 wide receivers right now that are getting reps in mandatory minicamp. That is way too much, but they want to make sure that Pop Douglas is not the only receiver come week 15 in this regular season. They want to make sure they have a ton of options to make their wide receiver depth chart as good as it possibly can be. I'll start off with an injury update here. Javon Baker, I'll get used to that one day. Javon Baker was not a full participant today. He was seen wearing a leg sleeve, and we know that he wasn't a full participant in the last stretch of OTAs as well. So you're going to be monitoring how well Baker, the touchdown maker, is going to progress with his rehab moving forward here. But I want to talk about another rookie, Jalen Polk, who I am loving so far in this offseason. He had 3 catches and 3 touchdowns. Coincidence that Drake Maye went 3 for 3 with 3 touchdowns? It looks like Polk and Maye are connecting on a different level, which is exactly what Elliott Wolf wanted when he drafted these 2 standouts a couple of months ago. There were a couple of drops, so to monitor. Tyquan Thornton did not have a good day. I'll break into that in just one moment, but that is not the type of day you want to start off with minicamp on day one. You got Pedway, Hooper, and Douglas all also had some drops, and I get it. Drops are a part of the game. That's fine. It's day one. We're still working on it, but that's way too many drops to be putting down 4 names in the bottom of my screen, in my opinion. Let's talk about Thornton just a little bit more, because like I said, this receiver room is make or break. And while I do understand drops are a part of the game, you drop it, you go a little bit lower onto that break list. Tyquan Thornton, he had a pretty tough experience in day one. A drop, bad route, and then a couple of nice grabs on outs, but it was just a roller coaster, according to Evan Lazar, just talking about going up and down and up and down. That, to me, is going to have to change if he wants to be on the make side of this list, because with 12 receivers, man, you got to make sure you're at least in the top 5, and that right there is not going to give confidence to Alex Van Pelt. Speaking of the offense, the O-line, holy cow, has a long way to go. So let's talk about the offensive line depth chart that was going on day one of minicamp. This is a part of the Boston Sports, I believe it's the Boston Sports, it's not the Globe, Boston Sports Journal. Thank you. Oh, what a day it's been. Boston Sports Journal. Here is what they did see. They saw left tackle Okorafor seemed to get the most reps here on the left side. And what I saw from reporters who were on the grounds of minicamp was that the left side actually wasn't that bad, but they weren't getting hit the most. The right side was actually taking the most hits. So Okorafor held his own at left tackle. And then, of course, they're going to put Sidy Sow right there at left guard next to David Andrews, who did just recently sign his contract extension a couple of weeks ago. And then Nick Leverett. He took most of the snaps here at right guard. And then Onwenu will be at your right tackle. They moved Caden Wallison just a little bit there to the inside, but most of the reps did come with Nick right next to David Andrews. So obviously they're mixing a lot of things up here when it comes to the offensive line because they're trying to see who's going to fit in best on the left side here. So of course you're going to have to move somebody like Sidy Sow from the right side to the left. It's going to be interesting to see how this progresses, but like I said, there is still a long way to go. But the good news is the defense still looks stellar. The pretty crappy news is the defense looks a lot better than the offense, and I just think they should somehow complement each other on both sides of the ball, or else the defense is going to be working 10 times as hard again this season. Like I said, Kyle Duggar was the lone interception today. He also did have a few interceptions against all the quarterbacks in OTA. So one thing's for sure is that we got a headhunter on our hands. Duggar is making a name for himself here in the backfield once more, and I like that he's proving to be a leader as well on the field. And then we did see a couple other people starting getting reps in with that defense one group. Alex Austin is becoming one of my favorite players to watch in the offseason. I think he's truly going to compete with Gonzalez in the cornerback position. You got Bolden and Hawkins, who were also heavily involved today when it came to the secondary. But you also have to think you have a lot of players coming back now from injury as well, including Christian Gonzalez. So I think the defense is going to continue to outshine the offense, which I'm not mad about, but I do hope one day the offense can meet the defense on that level. When that one day does come, you know we're going to talk about it right here on Patriots Today by Chat Sports. As always, feel free to go on ahead and subscribe to the channel. And if you haven't already, hit that like button for me.